lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Crunk the Madman inside the dome. Ballyho, Crunk, welcome back. It has been a while. Congratulations on the promotion, my friend. Nice to see you. Crunk the Madman says, the Mr. Rotella action figure looks like the greatest gay biker I've ever seen. Well, Crunk, we know you've seen a lot. Here we go, everybody. Documentary, Space Force, by Space Force. Let's get in it. They watch the stream.
America's future will be determined by your dreams and your visions.
My dreams?
And nowhere is this more true than America's next frontier.
There's going to be a lot of sex
bots. The vast
bots.
frontier of space. The space age is barely a quarter of a century old, but already we've pushed civilization forward with our advances in science and technology. Our work on the space shuttle gives us routine access to the landscape above us, dropping off payloads, performing experiments, and fixing satellites. And I believe we've only touched the edge of possibilities in space. It's time to quicken our pace and reach out to new opportunities.
I'm sold already. Let's go. Ballyho Crunk, Ballyho, thanks for stopping in. Good luck in the new job, man.
For decades, that next frontier was a benign environment, a place of exploration, of innovation, and a strategic advantage for the few nations who could afford to access it. But as technology advanced, the domain became...
Now we let anybody up in space. I mean, fuck, we let Katy Perry up in space. We let the lady who's marrying Jeff Bezos up in space. We let Oprah's best friend up in space. I mean, come on. We got to come up with some kind of list for space, guys. What's the criteria to be allowed to space? Get it inside the chat.
Economically lucrative. Participation in space expanded, and national interest grew. Today, space is like oxygen to us. When it's available to meet our needs, we take it for granted and barely even notice it.
For a lot of people, space is out of sight, out of mind. But in reality, it underpins almost every aspect of daily life.
What do you mean? It's literally all the fuck around me.
Satellites are
supposedly
a crucial part of more than half of the 16 sectors of national infrastructure. A third of crops are grown using weather data. GPS navigation data keeps supply chains and logistics moving. And the timing signal that comes from GPS is what stamps digital transactions, which means digital commerce, e-finance. None of that works without satellites.
It literally drives the way we do life right now, and it's only going to get more and more important.
But if it's taken from us...
Oh, I love this. Captain says, to go to space, we vote if you get to come back. I love that. Ballyho Knife, nice to see you, my friend. Ely
Nothing
Domer.
else but desperately try to get it back. Space is vital to our nation's security and economic prosperity, and we must increase our ability to harness its power and our will and capabilities to defend it. The United States Space Force was created to do just that.
And to tame new frontiers.
Semper Supra. As our motto says, always above. Operating 24/7 to provide and protect capabilities that are critical to the joint force and the American way of life.
In just the last 5 years, the space domain has gotten incredibly congested. When the service stood up, there's about 25,000 objects in space. Now, daily, we track 46,000, and that number is growing all the time. That's almost double, and it's not slowing down.
But space is not just...
How is there so much shit in space? What are these things?
It's congested. It's also contested.
I think traditionally it has been viewed as a collection of space activities, and with the stand-up of Space Force and the additional resources and the changing environment and global competition, we have seen that evolve to space becoming a warfighting domain itself.
Over the past 20 years, the Russians and the Chinese have heavily invested their resources to develop a broad portfolio of space weapons designed to negate the U.S. space advantage.
In 2007, China decided to essentially use a kinetic kill vehicle, also known as an anti-satellite weapon, and knock down one of their own weather satellites. The satellite was defunct at the time, but also we know that this is an opportunity for them to prove the capability that they can essentially target satellites in low Earth orbit. And in LEO, essentially low Earth orbit, that's where most of our satellites are operating, especially the ones that the everyday American and everyday user are actually depending on.
That event generated over 2,700 pieces of debris, much of which still remain on orbit today and will for decades.
Thanks a lot, China. They're poisoning our space, they're poisoning our water, and they're poisoning our air. How many coal mines did they build in space just last week?
To come.
So just like that, we went from benign, peaceful domain, space as a sanctuary, to contested, competitive domain,
Ballyho Dome, stop
space as a
believing, welcome in.
domain.
We face a sophisticated array of threats across every orbital regime.
More and more we see China, Russia, eventually other countries, we see them put weapons in space to try and hold us at risk. And this includes satellites with robotic arms for dragging potential U.S. assets out of missions, thus destroying our capability
of crucial concern.
We've been foiled by the grabber robot! That is hilarious. There's no way that that exists.
Sir, China has developed an on-orbit sensor shooter kill web that enables long-range and precise targeting of our forward-deployed forces. Intelligence suggests Russia may intend to put a nuclear weapon into orbit, threatening devastating consequences for the world and for the global economy.
A nuclear detonation in space would be catastrophic worldwide for everyone involved. We're talking allies, partners, commercial, adversaries.
Seems like propaganda.
The initial radiation burst would render nearby satellites ineffective and useless. Electromagnetic pulse would have initial and lasting impacts as well, based off of the radiation impacts.
Space technology underpins our society in unseen ways and has become an indispensable engine of economic value.
Space enables things such as communications, transportation, navigation, agriculture, energy distribution. All these things are enabled by space.
Collectively, these space-enabled activities translate to hundreds of billions of dollars for the U.S. and global economies.
How does Amazon get packages to your house? How do you have delivery meal services? Actually, even enabling financial transaction.
Those same capabilities we enjoy today can be used against us, or they could be unavailable.
The modern U.S. military has been designed around assured access to space capabilities.
Space is built in and baked into every plan that the Joint Force has. We're a critical component offering the ability to enhance the senses, whether that's seeing, hearing, talking. We're a big part of all of that. And so anytime a joint operation goes out, space is relied to be there.
2, 1.
In an age when space is more congested, contested, and critical than ever before,
if we're going to space, if we're going to space, how the fuck does it get through all those satellites without it crashing into something? I mean, Mr. Rotella makes a good point right there, I feel.
Than ever before, we face new requirements, new expectations, and new threats. We must adapt or risk ceding our strategic advantage to those who intend us harm.
Longitude east 035 decimal.
Recognizing that new things have to continue to change and develop is a critical piece of what we do. How do we plan for missions? How do we execute missions? And how do we offer additional capabilities in unique ways that we haven't done in the past?
The Space Force is responsible for organizing, training, and equipping critical space capabilities. But it's also responsible for conducting warfighting operations as an integrated part of the Joint Force.
Red Wombat, service to 3K.
We secure our nation's interest in, from, and to space. That's our mission. This simple phrase, in, from, and to, captures the three core functions we were created to provide.
In, from, to? That's got to be like
space control,
code for Latin
the
something.
in-space function.
When space became a warfighting domain, we needed to treat it like all the other domains, air, land, sea. We need to be able to gain and maintain domain superiority, which for space means two things. One, that we're able to
belt loops matter. Belt loops matter from the back row. More like Nerd Force.
Go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right. Let's calm it down in the back row. Thank you. Belt loops matter.
Reserve freedom of action for our forces, and 2, to deny that freedom of action to our adversaries. And for the Space Force in particular, that means 2 things. First of all, we need to protect the capabilities that we have in space, the things that provide the enabling services for the Joint Force and for the Combined Force writ large. But secondly, and this is the really new mission, we need to be able to defeat adversary space power that could target our forces on the ground. In particular, we're thinking about the Chinese kill web, this interconnected sensing and targeting network that extends their reach and their precision of strike. If we're not able to defeat that, then we're putting our forces at risk.
That means we must be able to assure continued use of our satellites and deny our adversaries the use of theirs at
If we have all of these satellites floating around with cameras on them, you're telling me we can't get an actual picture of this satellite doing what this satellite is doing right now? It has to be CGI? Come on.
In places of our choosing.
I'm starting to think space is fake.
We accomplish this through 3 dedicated mission areas: orbital warfare, electromagnetic warfare, cyberspace warfare, preventing our adversaries from using the space and counter-space systems that hold us at risk while protecting friendly systems
Is this
from attack.
actually what the thing looks like? Is this
Second
mission
is
control?
global
Because
mission operations.
that's impressive. I like
Think
that.
of it as the from aspect from space. I was thinking about this, the terrestrial support. So from space down to the ground users, what are we providing them? And that could be a range from SATCOM to GPS, missile warning, battle space awareness, all those functions that we're actually providing out to everybody on the ground.
Space has never been more critical to the security of our nation, and the success or failure of the Joint Force depends heavily upon the capabilities we present.
Elite Dumber Knife says, if space was fake, Carrie Perry would have told us. I mean, he makes a good point.
We have our precision targeting using GPS. We can use these to accurately pinpoint where we want to strike and then strike within meters, even sometimes feet of where we want to be. We also have our military satellite communication that all branches can use to talk to whoever they need to talk to. So if the Navy needs to talk to maybe a nuclear sub, they can use satellite communication in that case.
Need some kind of report.
Overhead, we have our missile defense as well. So in satellites, they can detect launches of missiles using their heat signatures, using their infrared. That can be given to any branch that needs it. So whoever is on the ground, deployed, downrange, can use this information to know when a missile is coming.
Early missile warning is essential for saving American lives, and it provides a protection that most Americans probably don't even realize is there. However, if they were aware of the risk, they would surely be appreciative of the protection the Space Force provides.
Finally, Guardians secure our nation's interests to the space domain.
Space access is about launching our assets into space. Being able to achieve that access in various orbits is highly critical to our success.
Space superiority starts with getting to space. If we're unable to do that, then we can't provide those critical capabilities to the everyday user or to the warfighter.
Did you hear that? We've never been to space. That's what I heard. TCT me. I mean, I just met you. Do you know the conspiracy guru? He knows about fake space, says TCT me. I'm pretty sure I'm the only streamer on the interwebs.
Fighters downrange.
We have 3 mission areas that support this function. Satellite control. Enabling telemetry, tracking, and commanding mission control through the infrastructure, networks, equipment, and connectivity that allows us to communicate with our satellites. Spacelift. The delivery of spacecraft and other payloads to and from space. And range control, providing safe and secure ranges for space launch operations.
But how do you get through the satellites?
Underpinning these core functions are cross-cutting activities we refer to as enterprise functions, because without them, our enterprise would falter. The most notable include intelligence and space domain awareness, the foundation of all we do.
Go space vehicle 42.
Or 2. Space domain awareness is the ability to use sensors to look up on orbit and identify objects, track where they're going, track where they came from, predict and avoid potential collisions, and just have a general awareness of what's going on.
Okay, is this answering my
there.
question? I mean, if there's... How many things did they say are floating in space? Oh, God, we better ask Domebot. Domebot! Okay, all right, here we go. How many satellites, right? How many satellites? How many satellite... Oh, my God. Are... It must be so hard to be Mr. Rotella's spell check on my computer. It is a job that no AI wants. All right, how many satellites are floating in space? Let's see. And just a short answer, if you don't mind, Gronk. Perfect, thank you. Okay, here we go. Domebot, not Gronk, Domebot.
As of March 2025, approximately 11,833 active satellites are orbiting Earth, according to the satellite tracking website Orbiting Now. However, estimates vary slightly, with some sources citing around 11,200 to 14,000 active satellites due to frequent launches. The total number of objects, including inactive satellites and debris, exceeds 45,000. The rapid growth is driven by commercial constellations like Starlink, which alone accounts for over 7,000 satellites.
Damn!
Space debris impact.
Damn! So again, how do they get past all those 11,833 satellites when they're launching a rocket up? I don't know.
Go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
The men and women who execute these functions every day are known as Guardians. It's a reference to our Air Force Space Command heritage, whose motto was Guardians of the High Frontier.
We are the first line of defense when it comes to anything space-related, which is where war is going to take place, and we need Guardians to defend that space.
Of
Guardians
all
of the
warfighters,
Galaxy?
Guardians are uniquely and specifically trained.
If I was a Guardian, I'd be like, why am I running? There's no gravity in space.
Educated and experienced in warfighting activities in, from, and to the space domain.
Elite Domer Daywalker Stripes comes in with a $5 payday dome investment. Says hashtag NerdForce. Thank you, Daywalker Stripes, helping us start the month strong.
The 4 core values of the Space Force: 1, we have character. You have to have the right moral and ethical character to be able to be a good Guardian. Next, we have connection. We have to make these connections not only within our Space Force or within our unit, but with other branches too, so they know what we can offer. We have to have the courage to make the right decisions and do things that might be out of the box and unnormal. Last, we have commitment. You need to be committed to your mission and your skill set and really hone your skills and ensure that you are developing your mission set the best you can.
By design, the Space Force is lean and agile.
The Space Force is 10% of the size of the next smallest military branch. We were specifically shaped in this way to be agile and fast.
Our members are laser focused on 5 professional disciplines.
Okay.
3 are operational. There's space operations, controlling satellites. There's intelligence, which means understanding and making use of data to inform our operations. There's cyberspace operations, which means command and controlling effects through cyberspace, which is how we generally command our satellites. And then there's 2 force modernization disciplines.
How
There's
does that stuff
engineering,
even work?
which is how we design, develop, and deliver capability, and program management, which is acquisition of that capability, working hand in hand with engineering to speed those effects to the warfighter.
The Space Force is headquartered with its
What's
sister
up,
services at the
ex-Canadian
Pentagon.
socialist?
It has over 50 operating locations in the U.S. and around the globe.
already.
Reporting to the headquarters are field commands.
So our field comms sit one tier below the headquarters Space Force. So they are...
I mean, that's a good-looking logo, isn't it? It is. Take a closer look. Is that Alpha Centauri right here? The closest star to us, Alpha Centauri. Space Operations Command, Space Systems Command, and Star Command. That one sounds the best. Star Command sounds the best. I hope we get into what the hell these are.
Charged with training, equipping, and resources our Guardians to be able to do the missions that are asked upon them by the Joint Fighter and by the Space Force as a whole.
Deltas, which support our field comms through specialized operations focused on specific mission areas.
Deltas kind of group up a big amount of work. So maybe we have MilSatCom in one delta or PNT in one delta, things like that.
And squadrons, tasked with specific mission sets and activities. Space Operations Command is charged with generating and presenting combat-ready intelligence, cyber, and space forces to the combatant commands. Space Systems Command acquires, develops, delivers, and fields dominant, integrated, and resilient warfighting space capabilities.
I don't think that's for me.
SSC also operates 2 spaceports, ensuring the safe and secure delivery of payloads to orbit for military, commercial, and civil missions alike. Space Training and Readiness Command prepares combat-ready Guardians to fight and win in contested, degraded, and operationally limited environments.
What does that mean? Am I fighting in space? Like, do I have like a little jetpack on and I'm like, bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang.
STARCOM accomplishes this through development, collection, and execution of training and education programs, threat-informed test and training systems, and realistic threat presentation for advanced training.
That doesn't sound like much commanding.
Like our sister services, the Space Force must prepare and present forces and personnel to every combatant command. We'll do this through our service components, the building blocks of the Joint Force.
For space power to be effective, it needs to be integrated into our joint force, which means into our combatant commands. So if we're going to present space forces for combatant commanders to direct, we need to have a touch point that connects the combatant commander with the service forces that we provide. That's what the service component is.
The Space Force has brought a level of clarity and focus to operations in, from, and to space that the Department of Defense didn't have before.
Mission: rendezvous with a flight of strategic bombers.
Well, Air Force
Putin,
Space
that's
Command
what we're fighting?
is the history and the legacy of the Space Force.
Campfire Starter says, I am so interested in this. This is the first time I've ever heard anything explained to me about what the Space Force was.
Separate military service, it's our job to contest and control the domain. To achieve
They
space
need better
superiority.
chairs.
And that's something the Space Force is doing as we execute warfighter ethos and a warfighter mentality. How are we bringing our space capability to the fight?
Our establishment isn't yet complete. We're still maturing into our role as a discrete warfighting service.
GPS vehicle 4-2.
Go space vehicle 4-2.
Despite all we have accomplished, despite our vast array of capabilities, and despite the dedication of our Guardians, the transformation we require is daunting.
As the Space Force mission grows, so does the responsibilities of all of us, and we need to grow with them to meet the challenges today as well as the challenges tomorrow.
Sounds like we need a space dome.
Again, continue executing all of those legacy missions, which we can't stop doing because the Joint Force is relying on those.
We've put a lot of the critical foundation in, we put in the groundwork, but the work is going to be ongoing, and it's on Guardians to get us there.
We must transform from an organization that takes advantage of a benign domain into a warfighting organization. One that has the equipment, training, and
We want to
doctrine to
weaponize
contest
space?
the domain
I mean, all right,
and provide
sure.
critical effects in the face of a determined adversary. This critical transformation requires
Hear me out. Let's move Gaza to space. I'm so fucking brilliant.
new resourcing levels.
We are asking our young Guardians to do incredibly challenging things, and we owe it to them. We owe it to the service, we owe it to the country to provide them with the skills that will make them successful.
Exactly, Ronnie. Problem solved.
Without space superiority, we cannot deter conflict. Without it, we cannot provide vital effects. Without it, we cannot protect the joint force. Until we have built the infrastructure needed to achieve it, the Space Force is a work in progress.
Understanding that a threat is growing, right? But there's a set of guardians who are willing to meet that threat and try and rise to it. We need help and support from all those around us to be able to achieve that mission.
There should be no doubt.
So more money going to something that I can't see. I don't know.
Space is of great
I'm
importance
still
to
not
our
sold on
nation's
this
defense.
space thing.
There are no service or national boundaries in the orbits above.
Space Gaza, a
It's
Palestinian
important
saga.
not just to the Space Force, but to all branches of our armed
Good one,
services
J-Man.
and our very way of life. Standing guard both night and day, the guardians of the United States Space Force secure our nation's interests in, from, and to space. Semper Supra.
Simpa Supra. Whatever the hell that means. Always, always above. Sounds like your girlfriend's gonna get bored. Hey baby, it's Simpa Supra tonight. Again? Ronnie says trust but verify. Trust but verify. I got it. Wow, we just walked into like I'm running through the dome, Domettes. James Chozone says they can send the Gaza folks to that sand planet from Star Wars. I know you know the name, James. Say the name. I know you know the name. Shamando says, was that Epcot Center? That was all about Epcot Center. Brand new ride coming to Disneyland. Elite Ever Daywalker Stripe says, anyone else drinking? Mr. Rotella is. It's Friday night date night. All right, coming up next, we are staying on space topic. And what we're watching next is moon landing, the world's greatest hoax. Man, oh man, do I love date night. All right, we'll be right back. Oh, actually, this Saturday, after family-friendly Saturday morning fortnight, Dome Radio will be showing a Led Zeppelin documentary at 12 noon over on Dome Radio. Join Dome Radio at 12 noon tomorrow for a Led Zeppelin documentary. This next musical break happens to be brought to you by Dome Radio. We'll be right back.